If you need to make custom creations to mount on your kayak that won't fit into a standard Scotty gearhead, and you want another option beyond the one I showed you in the other video, then this one is for you, and it's cheaper. Stay tuned. Welcome back. If you're new to the channel, we cover kayak modifications, spin, and fly fishing. So poke that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. In my earlier video that I'll link up right here, I showed you how to make a PVC gearhead adapter out of a threaded connector, which is actually a little more expensive than the slip connector, a plug, and some toilet bolts that come in a packet like this. And that ended up being about $4.40. Well, thanks to a subscriber who's even cheaper than I am, I've got another idea to show you that's even less expensive. For this idea, all you have to do is get some 3/4 inch, 1/4 20 thread stainless steel bolts and these T-nuts. So I've already completed the first step here, which is drilling out the center hole, and I used a drill bit that was just a hair smaller than the threads on the bolt, because what I want to do when I put this in from the other side is to screw it down tight, and a 7/16 socket is going to do the job. But I'm not done drilling yet. One of the improvements suggested to me last time was to drill additional holes around that the epoxy can get up into to create prongs that are going to help keep the bolt head from spinning when you put pressure on it. Now, quite frankly, I haven't had a problem with that yet, but better safe than sorry. Okay, now let's just screw this bolt through the hole I've made right here. You can see the other holes I made for the epoxy to go into. So the next step is I'm going to put some tape over these holes, because now I'm going to fill up the inside with the epoxy. I want the epoxy to go down in those holes and then fill in all around the bolt hole. Now there's no need to mix the epoxy separately. I'm just going to dump it right in here, stir it, and then let it set. I'm poking it into these holes with my pencil here, and then I'm mixing it up so it'll all set properly. You want it to fill up right up above the head of the bolt. You don't really need any more than that. We'll let this set, and then we'll go to the next step. The best way to let all the epoxy settle where it's all nice and flat is to put it in the corner of a drawer. And you can see I went ahead and made 2 of these at the same time. Why just make one, right? So I'll let that sit, I'll go do something else, and then we'll come back and we'll finish it up. When you look at these T-bolts, at least the cheap ones, have these prongs that'll go up. Well, you have 2 choices on these. You can either bend them over like I did on this one, but that leaves a little pointies, or you can grind them off, and I ground them off with my Dremel tool to cut off those prongs. Now the trick here is going to be to make sure the width of these is going to fit in your gear track. And I know on my Jackson, it came, surprisingly, with 2 different sizes of gear tracks. Let me show you. I don't know why Jackson did this, but there's 2 different sizes of utility tracks on here. You can see this mighty bolt won't come out on this one, but when I put him into this one, he can pop right out. So you need to consider that as you create the T-bolt connection. So right here, this is the 1/4 20 style T-bolt, and once I ground it off, it will fit into this gear track just fine with a little bit of wiggling, but will not fit at all into the smaller one. So if I was going to use this one, then I need to grind off the edges to go ahead and make it slip in. I've got the 1/4 inch on, and I put the bolt into it, and now I've screwed it down, and it's tight and it's not going to move. But you can see that there's a gap between the base of the plug and the top of the track. The reason is that the bolt is just a hair long, and it's pressing against the base of the track, pushing the connection up and causing it to stay in firmly. Well, I'm not really a fan of that because I'd really like to have the bottom of this plug flush with the utility track, and so the solution is pretty easy. Just pick some washers. You can. I've got these. I've got these. You know, everybody has a bazillion washers probably hanging around that you haven't used recently, and so I can stick a couple washers on here, screw this back down, and now it'll be firmly attached to the utility track with plenty of support between this gap on my plug and the top of the track, in effect creating more surface area for this plug to sit than just the narrow bolt, and that's going to be a lot stronger. And you know, you can use pretty much any washers you want as long as they cover the utility track. Well, I've got everything in place. I'm using the washers. I've got the threaded cap, and I've got the connector with threads and slip on top, and that allows me to basically just slip my connection in very easily, and now I'm ready to go. So there you go, a second option on one of these, and it's cheaper. Instead of $4.39 for the option one, this one only costs $3.40, a little bit cheaper, and it works just fine. What do you think of this idea? Do you like it better than the other idea with the toilet bolts? Or do you even have a third option? Throw it down in the comments below and I'll make a video of it. Thanks.